All right. Hi, welcome everyone to MFA Open House. This is the GLASS online session. I'll go ahead and introduce Sean Salstrom, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Sean Salstrom. I'm the current glass department head. I've been teaching in the glass department at RISD since 2018. And I was actually an alum of the program. I graduated the MFA program in 2006. And then in between coming back here, I've gone and taught at universities in glass programs in Japan for 7 years, and then in Wisconsin, and now I'm back here. So I'm really excited to be, after being at a bunch of different glass programs around the world, I'm really excited to come back to RISD, which is the kind of the program that really shaped my own perspective on what can be done with glass. And so I just wanted a little show of hands, and you can use the raise hand. How many folks in here have experience with glass before? Either an undergrad background or have tried it out before. Um, Let me try the other way. How many people have never experienced glass making before? All right, so maybe somewhere in the middle. Um, at RISD, what we do with glass is we really approach it both conceptually and technically. And so we offer classes throughout the general curriculum that are open to undergrads and grads in technical based courses like glass blowing, cold glass working, kiln glass working, mold making. But then we get into more complicated classes that are research based for grads specifically, and the everything is kind of centered around the grad studio. And so I'm going to I'm going to share my screen really quick, and I'm going to open up our curriculum page. Um, let's see. Are you guys seeing the page? Oh, maybe I can't share. Oh, here it is. Yep. Great. All right. So in a typical year, your first year, you would take Graduate Glass 1 Studio. You would take Graduate Glass 1 Degree Program Workshop, and I'll get into what all these are in a minute. Graduate Critical Issues, and one non-major studio elective for a total of 15 credits. That's a fall. In the winter session, which is a little 5-week session that we have in between fall and winter, it runs from January through February. You would have a chance to take one elective, and it could be anything. It doesn't have to be glass related. Um, and that's a fun 5-week intensive course where you get to kind of do a crash course in something that generally we would like it to feed your studio practice. And then in spring, you would take Graduate Glass Studio 2, Graduate Glass Studio 2 Degree Program Workshop, Graduate Seminar, non-major studio elective, and then the second year is kind of following that as well, that same pattern. But the only difference is in the spring, you'll be working on a thesis exhibition and a thesis and a written thesis. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Going back up to the first year, Grad Glass 1, that is where all of your research and all of your work gets explored. And whoever's teaching that class is either myself or one of the other full-time faculty members will be running kind of pr your ways about how you approach research in service of your work. And we will be meeting as a group as well as individually on a weekly basis in your studio in this building called the Fletcher Building, where you have your own individual studio spaces. And we would meet and see what you have done from the past week. We will share research, we will share artist references. There will be readings that we go through together. Um, Grad Glass Degree Program Workshop, we call it DPW. That is a department-wide course that really is the heart of the whole department. And that's the course that kind of fuses the family aspect of our department. It runs all of the undergrads and all of the grad students together. And what we do every week is we bring in visiting artists or visiting curators or visiting critics, but somebody who comes in from the outside to lecture. And based around all of those lectures, we have a reading for every one of them, supplied by the person coming to visit. During that day, you would also get the grad students also get individual one-on-one studio visits from these people. And sometimes these are curators at really amazing contemporary museums. Sometimes they're um, contemporary working artists from all over the world. And sometimes they're critics. And so it's this, you get this really amazing, rich experience to be one-on-one and to network with these folks. And then we kind of convene after that and meet up at night. And we do this program that we call Hot Nights. So Wednesday is this kind of tour de force of a day where you start off the morning with individual studio visits with the guest artist. At 1 o'clock, there's a lecture. After the lecture, there's a discussion about the lecture. Then we do a big departmental cleanup and we take a little break for dinner. And we meet back up at 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the hot shop. And at that point, we ask the guest artist to pose a question. And then the students in the course um, try and answer that question through the material of molten glass. And it's really exciting. So for 3 hours, we work with these professionals, and oftentimes they are not glass artists, so they're coming from other backgrounds, other disciplines, but they might have a question about glass that they will pose to the group, and then the students for 3 hours try and through research and development try to workshop these problems, and that's open to the greater RISD community. It's a big public event every Wednesday night. It's really exciting. It's called Hot Nights. Um, then the other class that we run is the graduate critical issues course, critical issues seminar, and that is almost always a visiting curator running that course, and it's different every semester. This semester, we have senior critic from the museum from uh, Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art. His name is Evan Garza. He's one of the senior curators there right now. He's running our seminar course there. And every week you'll do readings and you'll do studio visits with that curator, which is really great access. Um, as we move into the second year, we do all of the same stuff, but what we start doing is your first year is really loose and open in terms of you exploring the material, you exploring what kind of themes you want to start working on. It's really open for you to kind of take experience, take some chances and to take some risks. We allow you to kind of fail a little bit on your first year. It really is a chance to kind of find yourself and find a direction with the material and how to really think through it. Second year, we're kind of refining that a little bit in the first semester. And then by the end of the first semester, we will have laid out an outline for your thesis. Now, over the winter session, you will take typically on your second year during winter session, we'll do an independent study for your elective, and we'll get you paired up with a writing mentor who will work and help you write your thesis. And what we try to do is get the whole written thesis done over that winter session so that when spring semester comes out, you have the whole spring semester to kind of formalize your final exhibition. And there's two actual exhibitions that you have. We require a offsite ex or a self-designed, self-guided exhibition where you can get an exhibition anywhere you want. We help you figure out how to do that. And then we have one that is in kind of an all-campus exhibition. It typically happens at the Rhode Island Convention Center with all the other people graduating from the MFA programs around RISD. And so that's the on-campus show, and then the other one is the off-campus show. And so the off-campus show, you can work on your own timing, on your own. You can have it for a week, you can have it for a day. People have done really creative things like rented U-Haul trucks and had exhibitions that travel around the city and pop up and open up the back of the truck and show its exhibition. People have gotten pretty creative with that. Um, And then at the end of the year, there's that huge convention center exhibition with all the other grads. And that's a really festive exhibition that happens right around graduation. Um, some of the courses that we offer that are not listed on here that could be taken for a non-major studio elective, some of the ones by our department, we run a grad only experiments in optics course, which is a real chance to look about how light and glass play with each other. Um, and it's really fun and extremely active course that gets you into our shops. We have an optics lab at this in our Metcalf building. You also get you in the hot shop and the cold shop, and you get to really work with glass all framed around this history of optics and how light works. Another course that is taught usually by Rachel Berwick, one of my colleagues, is called Alchemy Research Studio, and it follows the history of alchemy and the history of glass, and the history of recipes and recipe making. And it gets that's a really fun course. There's a lot of field trips involved in that, a lot of interaction between Brown University. We also go out to University of Rhode Island where they have a research reactor, a nuclear reactor, and they've been able to go and put things and expose certain glass recipes into nuclear radiation for for science and art, and it's pretty exciting. Um, what I want to do here, I'm going to stop sharing this. I'd like to field some questions that some people might have because I know you guys are coming to it with different levels of exposure to what the program is. And so instead of taking over and blabbing a bunch, I'd like to hear some questions. I see we have one in the chat. Oh, that's okay. Yep. Um, does
I
anyone
can,
here? Yeah.
oh,
Have
go
any?
ahead. Sorry,
I
Sean.
was going to say, does anyone here have any questions?
Um, if no one does yet, I have one.
Okay.
How does the program support students who come
Mhm.
from like a non-glass
Yeah.
background or who have an interdisciplinary practice?
That's a great question. And I would say we probably have at least 50% of our grad students coming in without necessarily a background in glass. And what we do is we basically get you right in the shops right away. And so we start the first week before class starts. We actually go in and we orient you onto the shops. We actually show you how to turn on all the equipment, even if you don't know how to use it yet. We show you how to take leadership role in the shop, and then we try and gear your first semester towards getting you the skills that you might need that you might be interested in using. But through our Hot Nights program and the degree program workshop course, you'll be working alongside with a bunch of the other students that are already here in the shops, and anybody who's seeing glass blowing or glass working, any sort of molten glass working experience, it's extremely communal. And so a lot of that skills knowledge is passed down from the cross-generational aspect of people working in the shops. And so it's really interesting to see people without the experience of working with glass come in as a grad student and be mentored by maybe a senior who's in their fourth year of actually working pretty intensely in glass and who have these amazing skills. Um, I remember when I first came, I had a bunch of experience in glassworking before I came to grad school. And when I came in, I was just blown away by how skilled the undergrads were. And I actually was surprised that I could even learn some stuff from the undergrads because I thought I knew everything, and it was clear that I didn't. And so we get people in touch with the material, and we we don't slack in terms of we don't let you wait and try and find out. We actually get you right into the material. We get your hands dirty. We get you experimenting, pushing, pulling, bending, stretching, blowing, pouring, doing everything you can right away. And it's pretty amazing to see how quick people actually pick it up. when they come from different backgrounds. So we've had people who are coming from architecture backgrounds who only worked on computers. We have people who are, we had an evolutionary biologist in the past come in, and he ended up being an amazing glass worker later on. We have people with, just varied experiences. The biggest thing we're looking for is somebody who actually has a curiosity. And if we find that if you're constantly curious, then we can actually work together with anybody.
We're starting to get a few questions.
Yeah.
I think this kind of follows like in tandem with what you're just talking
Yeah.
about. Someone had asked, which courses are we going to learn about all the techniques?
Um, each course has, we have a beginning blowing course that you can learn glass blowing. We have a hot casting course, which is ladle casting into sand. We learn how to make sand molds. We have a glass casting and mold making course to learn how to make really complex plaster and silicone molds that can put in the kiln and melt glass there. And we have a very rigorous cold glass working course that you can all get into. And they're spaced out between fall and spring semesters, so there's time to get you into any of those courses. Um, and those are if you really want a highly skilled curriculum. We also offer training in the cold glass working shop. We do a 4 hour kind of workshop for grads on the first week with our our cold glass working instructor, and he gives a really thorough understanding of how to get into the shops. And one of the biggest things that we've come to realize is you'll be able to learn whatever technique you need for the projects you need. There's enough knowledge sharing throughout the whole department between faculty and students, so you don't necessarily have to take a course in it, but you can. One of the things that we do is we give students a lot of access to our shops, and we sign up if you want to work in the hot shop, we have 3 hour bench slots. We have three of them every 3 hours, and it runs from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. Students turn on the shop at 6 a.m. and then they sign up for a weekly 3 hour slot, and you can get up to, you can get as many as you need. Um, we've never had students say they don't get enough shop time. So you can learn on your own, but you'll always be working with somebody. You'll always be guided by somebody. And it's kind of amazing. We actually have one of our part-time faculty now who teaches 4 classes a year for us, Ashley Harris, came in with an architecture background, no glass experience, and now she's teaching hot casting. She's teaching this kind of movement-based workshop in the hot shop called the Molten Window. She's teaching sophomore studios. She basically just picked up everything she needed throughout. We basically can weave together the skills that you need.
Someone's asking about flame working in
Mhm.
courses.
We don't teach flame working at RISD. We just don't have the space for it. For people who don't know what flame working is, it's using a torch and using a type of glass that's called borosilicate glass. We do have torches for people that have experiences. We have I think 8 or 9 Carlisle torches. And if somebody comes in with experience, they can use it. But what we usually do for that kind of scenario, especially for grad students, is we encourage them to go take workshops over the summer somewhere, or go take. There's a bunch of places where you can pick up those skills, but we don't run classes in it. Yeah.
Can you speak to the differences between the post-baccalaureate and the MFA
Yeah,
program?
yeah. So the post-bac is a non-degree granting 1 year, um, 1 year program, and it's really self-guided. We have 2 post-bacs right now. And what that does, people who come to the post-bac sometimes feel that they're not ready for grad school. So come they come in for 1 year to get an intensive. And that's, it's basically you can design, there's no set curriculum you have to take. Everybody will take the degree program workshop class with the visiting artist coming through. So that's one class. And we'll put you into a studio course. Typically, the post-bac gets put into our junior level studio course, which is concept building and making your work through developing concepts, but you also can take our two post-baccs right now. They're taking glass blowing, they're taking cold working, they're going to take mold making in the spring, they're taking optics, they're taking alchemy, they're taking every course that they want to take right now. And it's basically a chance to work with the faculty, work with the students, build up a portfolio and build up a dialogue so that you can be ready to apply to grad school. And I think now we're coming up to the season. I think two of our postdocs have um, expressed interest in applying to our program for next year. And of course, we can't guarantee it. We have to balance them up against everybody else who's applying too. But there's an opportunity. And then the
Uh,
MFA program is a very focused, rigorous, very set curriculum that we have, and ends with a thesis. The post-bacc doesn't. The post-bacc is like a free curriculum that we set up for you guys. Yep.
nice, thank you.
Mhm.
Could you describe the studio environment in the glass department
Mhm.
and what does a typical day look like for an MFA student in the
Yeah.
program?
Well, it's busy. I'll tell you that much. There's a couple of different ways we can talk about the studio. One is you get your own studio in a building with a bunch of other grad studios. So your own studio, which is your own locked room, is in 24-hour access. That's downtown. It's about a 7-minute walk from where the glass facilities are. But in that building, there's all the sculpture grads, all of the printmaking grads, the photography grads, painting grads. There's digital media grads there, and that's connected to another building through the hallways, and that has industrial design grad students, graphic design, landscape architecture, um, and a couple others. And so you have this really nice environment where you have your own studio space. The first year studios are a little bit smaller than the second year studios. Second year studios are quite nice and quite big. And in that building, there's also a wood shop down in the basement. So as long as you take the 1 credit workshop when you first get there, you have access to use it anytime you want. Um, and then on a typical day, it would just depend on the day of the week, in terms of how your course is structured. But you basically will have, outside of the glass requirements, you'll have a one elective course you'll be taking. So you could be anywhere on campus depending what that elective course is. And there's something like 60 buildings on RISD's campus spread throughout the city. So um, it would just depend on where you are. But what's really nice is you have time in the studio. There's a lot of chance to invite faculty from all different departments into the studio and come by. And then in the glass shop, you could have a 3 hour blow slot, um, let's say from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then you could be in a class from 1 to 6. Our studio courses are mostly 5 hours long. They either go from 8 to 1 or 1 to 6. Um, it's actually 8 to 1 and 1:10 to 6:10, so that you have 10 minutes to get between classes and eat lunch. That's the RISD way. Um, um, and then anytime you're not in class, you could be in the studio. You have access to Brown University's campus and all their resources. So you can get into all of their libraries, which are fantastic. And they have a really great maker space up there that's open to RISD as well. You could be, it's hard to say. A day would be different for each student, I think. Yeah.
I think this is kind of like a follow-up, and then we'll get to the question in the
Mhm.
chat. How accessible are the studios in the hot shop, and are there dedicated hours for the graduate students?
There are dedicated hours throughout the day. Like I said, we have open slots running from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. And there's 3 benches, and there are 3 hours. Each slot is 3 hours. So if, let's say, student A decides that they'll choose Monday from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., that means every Monday, your slot, that's your time period, and you'll work there with your at least one assistant. And then typically what you also do is you will return that favor and you will work for 3 hours for that assistant. We work in teams. And so for every every one 3-hour slot, you should also be assisting for another 3-hour slot. What people typically do is they'll get back-to-back slots. So they'll have 6 hours in the shop and they'll share it between it, and they'll have the time to kind of get work done. But you have access to the shop all the time that you're not in class and that a class isn't in the shop. Same with our kiln shops or our cold shop. There's open monitor hours for all of those shops, and you're 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 able to get in there. The shops close at 1 a.m. And that's for safety reasons, and we're pretty strict about that. But your own studio is open much later downtown, so you could go and work there. You can't live there, but yeah.
Thank you. Someone's asking about the acceptance rate for the MFA program.
Um, it's different from year to year. It just depends on how many people are applying. I don't have the data on the actual acceptance rate for our department, but we're pretty good at trying to interview not everybody, but a good number of people who apply. And we really take our time to get to know you before we make a decision. In terms of, yeah, I don't have a good date on that. But we usually we would max out at taking 4 students per year. We would max out at a total of 8, 4 first years, 4 second years. Currently we have 3 second years and 1 first year. We had others, but they ended up not being able to come. So we're gonna, we're probably there would be a higher acceptance rate next year than there was this past year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we have a few other questions. All right. This person's asking, they haven't worked with glass, but have access to classes at the Crucible Industrial Arts Center in Oakland, California. They do have experience with ceramics and are trying to keep options open. Is there any compatibility as far as mixed media in either ceramics or other graduate programs?
Let's start with that right
Yeah.
there. In terms of the compatibility between programs, we have good relationships with the other programs. Ceramics in our making building where our shops are, we are directly above ceramics, so we're on the 4th floor. Ceramics is on the 3rd floor. We don't have we don't have a cross curriculum with them by any means, but we have students from their group who've taken courses with us. We have our students who go and take courses with them. I would say, in general, when people come to RISD and go into other departments, it's a lot harder for them to take glass courses than it is for glass students to go in and take courses in other departments. Part of the reason is because we have a very limited we max out at 12 students per course because of space and for safety. And there's just really popular for people to try and take it. So, but we have had our students take some ceramics courses, and there have been 1 or 2 ceramics students who've gotten into some glass courses as grad students. But in general, we're very open to students working in any media when they come into our program. So if you have a desire to be working with ceramics while you're also exploring glass, and you have the means to do it, either by access and you've negotiated all of your terms with the ceramic faculty, that would be acceptable. We've even had students who are physically mixing ceramics and glass and finding ways to do it successfully, which has been really nice. Yeah. But I would say in general at RISD, probably like most programs, once you get in, there is, if you can work on your networking skills and be really good at and really clear with what you want, there's a lot of and be amenable to what the parameters are of all the departments. We find that the industrious students get a lot done at RISD, and they get a lot done across borders. That makes sense.
And then I think kind of the second part of the question, What would you say is a typical relationship between glass as a practice slash design material versus as a material in studio art?
Yeah, I
That
would
makes
say,
sense.
we are running all of our grad programs through a fine arts lens. And so we're not teaching design practices, or we're not teaching that kind of stuff. But when people get out of our program, their their skills are pretty diverse. And so we've had alum going on to start design firms in glass. We've had students going on and showing at the Venice Biennale. We've had students going on and become MacArthur um, recipients. So they go in all different directions. And some of our students have some of our alum have extremely successful design practices right now all over the world. And so it's not what we teach, but we do teach, but part of the technique and part of the rigor, I think, will help people make a decision when they get out. We don't have a cookie cutter type of alum we're trying to create, but we are teaching through a fine arts lens, meaning we're talking about idea, and we're talking about how to think and how to follow research through the material, and how to build conceptual art. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, we have another question here. Could you introduce a bit more about the facility?
Mm.
Is the 3 hour slots only for blowing glass? Is it the same for kiln working or casting, for example?
Mhm.
If they wanted to focus on kiln working for one semester, do they have access to the facility every day?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the 3 hour, it's not 3 hours only for glass blowing slots. It's just that's the length of one slot. But you can sign up for 5 slots if you want per week. Um, just keep in mind you'll be working with other people as well. And in terms of kiln working, what we do is right now the fall semester is a really good semester for being really heavy in the kiln shop, because there's no kiln classes in the fall semester, and we've got a lot of kilns. And so the way we run that is one of the grad students runs a weekly sign up sheet, and we have a whole bank of kilns, all different sizes, different temperature ranges, and every week it's a first come, first serve. You sign up for the time you want, and you write a program. If you don't know how to write programs, we work with you on how to do that. But you can be in the kiln room every day of the week if you want. Absolutely. And then the cold shop is a little bit, for safety reasons, we have a buddy system in there, and we have a monitor schedule, but there's a lot of hours for monitoring. There's a lot of chances to work in there. Yep.
All right. I have another question I can ask.
Yeah.
Um, how does advising work with the MFA Glass program, and how often do students meet with faculty?
We have an enormous amount of face time because we're a small program. We have 3 full-time faculty. And so you can imagine 3 full-time faculty and what, a total of maximum of 8 students, grad students. So we meet at least once a week. You're meeting for 5 hours in a studio with your professor. But we also have our doors open all the time in our office. We have posted hours. We'll advise you. We're constantly talking with our students. Um, sometimes we have to like refrain from doing it over the weekends and too long, but we really get a lot of face time in this department, and it's actually the only way that we can manage as such a small department. It's one of the powers of a small department too, is that we have a lot of attention with our students.
Nice. And then could you talk a little bit about how the critiques work in your
Hmm.
program,
Yeah.
and how applicants think about critique culture at RISD?
Sure, sure. I think every department is a little bit different. But in our department, we have 2 formal critiques every semester. We have a midterm critique and a final critique. And those are department wide, and we always have a guest outside critic coming, usually someone from some museum, um, who we've developed a good relationship with people over the years. And so We get those critiques are we keep them on the shorter side, 30 minutes per grad student. And then during the critique, midterm and end of the semester, there's crit spaces on campus that you can set up work, or some people set up installations directly in their studio space as well. We're open to however you want to do it. We help you find the spaces if you don't have it. But basically, the whole department is invited and is expected to come to everybody's critique. And since we're about 25 students between grad and undergrad, and so they're not always all on the same day, but we try and get as much of the people to come into the studio as possible. We expect everybody to have a discussion. The critique culture in the department is more of a discussion. It's we're firm believers in the critique as a dialogue and not a reprimand of any sort. Um, the goal of the critique really is to move the work forward and understanding that our work is constantly in process, even if when we're showing it in a finished form. It's the idea is that after the discussion, we will have a better understanding from both sides, and you will have kind of the motivation to move to the next level through the next piece of work. But it's quite nice, and you get some of our students get tired of us meeting every week. So it's really good to get guest critics coming out. Sometimes the guest critics are other faculty from other departments, but typically they are from the curator world.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna ask one question and then I'll go to the Q&A. Can you talk about exhibition opportunities on
Mhm.
campus or in the
Yeah.
Providence art community?
Yeah. On campus, there's a few art galleries that are run for students. There's a Gelman Gallery, which is housed in the RISD Museum, and then every department, every grad program gets a grad gallery exhibition once while you're here in a 2-year period. So we have a biennial. So at some point, you're either be your first year or your second year, you get to show with your cohort at a gallery in the grad building. It's called the Salkoffer Gallery, and that's a really nice exhibition. And then then of course we make our students do an off-campus exhibition. So it can be somewhere in the Providence community. It can be somewhere. It should be accessible to the faculty and students. And so oftentimes there's a bunch of local galleries that students can sign out. There's 3 or 4 of them that we kind of cycle through quite a bit. There's AS220, there's the Works, there's Machines with Magnets, and I can't remember. There's two or three other ones. And Providence, for those of you that don't know, in surrounding areas, it was a mill town. It was a mill, all these amazing mill buildings during the Industrial Revolution, and a lot of textile mills, jewelry factories. And so a lot of those have been turned and converted into artist studios. And so some of those are communal, and then they also have gallery spaces that you can work out of. Um, and then there's also Brown University, which has got an interesting visual arts program. They have a really nice museum and gallery space up there, the List Gallery. And then yeah, I think that's and then of course there's the end of the year, end of graduation exhibition at the Rhode Island Convention Center. So it's basically like an art fair style format. And it's wild. It's a really fun exhibition. Students, there's some parameters that are not wonderful because it's not like a clean gallery space, but we build walls, we build ceilings, we build lighting depending on what all the students need. And we have a really great gallery director, Mark Moscone, and his crew. They're just amazing, and they put together some wonderful shows for us.
All right, thank you. Someone's asking about, does the program provide materials for students or do they have to get your
Yeah.
own class?
All of the glass you can pull out of the furnace, you can use, you don't pay for. It's all part of the tuition. Um, we have our furnaces hold, we have 2 furnaces basically. We have a furnace for blowing glass that's 1,000 pounds, And we have a furnace for casting glass that's 500 pounds. That's ladle casting. All of that glass is to be used. It's clear glass to be used. If students want to add color or bring color into it, they have to purchase their own color. Sheet glass, anything like that, you would purchase. I think people are actually using our blowing glass to do casting as well. And so that's all just included. It's an amazing, it's kind of an amazing perk. But yeah, other materials are going to be have to acquire by yourself. The school does have some grad commons grants, some grants you can get for materials, and they're competitive, but there are opportunities for students to apply for material grants.
I think this one kind of goes with what we were just talking about. Are there opportunities for small batch custom colors?
Absolutely. We have a couple of test furnaces. We have these Paragon kilns that hold crucibles, and students who want to work with colors and do their own color batching or even color chemistry. We encourage them to buy their own crucible, but they can use our little test furnaces for that. And we have one of the interesting things that one of our grad students is doing now. She got a grad commons grant to do it, is working with recycled container glass and finding ways to work the recipe to make it longer working time for like to match our blowing glass. But she's really interested in sustainability and using materials that already exist. And so she's been doing a lot of tests with that, adding her own colorants to it as well. And the results have been really, really promising. And so students can play around with their own colors and their own mixes for sure. Absolutely.
All right, thank you. There's two different questions that I think are kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll add them both kind of together.
Mm-hmm.
How do you prepare students for success after the program? And then
Mm-hmm.
someone's also asking if you have any classes that address finding a career afterwards or
Mm.
establishing your studio practice or
Yeah. Well, the
dealing
whole
with your financial
yeah.
stability after grad
Yep.
school.
Yeah, I mean, the whole program is built towards setting you up to be have confident studio practice when you leave. And like we said, it's not one way or another, but it really is about how to design your life through your studio practice. Um, by bringing in guests in almost weekly, that's the easy one because you're just networking right away. And those relationships often turn into future opportunities, either work opportunities. We've had a number of our students be picked to go work for really big artists um, because their skills are end up being so good. And also the rigor at RISD is pretty high. So there's a lot of you build up this work ethic that is respected kind of in the field. And so by the time you get out of here, just through the rigor of the program, through all of the networking and through the constant dialogue in your studio, we're pretty confident people are able to go off and and hit the ground running, whether that means going into the gallery track, getting gallery shows, getting exam shows, going and teaching. There's, one of the opportunities we do give our students is a chance to compete to teach a winter session course in your second year. And this winter session, we have two of our three um, second year students are going to be teaching courses during winter session and teaching courses to freshmen. And they're self-designed courses. So it's based on their own research and their own studio practice. So when you get out of here, sometimes some people will even have teaching experience that can go right into feeding a potential for going into teaching. Teaching is one track that people go into. And I will say that most of the glass programs around the world that are that have that are housed in universities, a lot of programs have our alum teaching there, which is pretty interesting.
Um, I wanted to bring up also, or maybe you can speak to it
Yeah,
a little bit, is the RISD Career Center.
yeah, absolutely. They're amazing. The RISD Career Center is we rely on them so much to meet with our students and talk about all these opportunities that we don't even know about. They're really, really wonderful. I don't know if you want to talk about them at all.
Yeah, I just say that it's a resource on
Hmm.
campus that is for all students. You can speak with them. They do, I think, like portfolio development, uh, working with like your sorry.
No, it's okay.
Working working on your like resume,
Mhm.
like anything that has to do with your career post graduating. And
Yeah,
then also like they work with getting internships and
yeah,
like
they're amazing. And we usually set up a meeting with each of our cohorts, our grad and our undergrad cohorts, to meet with usually it's Scott over in Career Resources, and he is just so amazing at getting opportunities for our students. Really, really, really good.
Also, if you're interested, the Career Center is doing, as part of the open house,
Hmm.
a online session on Wednesday from 3 to 4. I'll just put the sign up in the chat if you're interested in signing up if you haven't. If not, it'll also be recorded,
Hmm.
so you can also watch it later. But that's like a really nice resource that the
Yeah.
the school has. Okay. I think we have time for just like maybe a couple more questions. I don't think we've really talked that much about
Hmm.
like the actual like application process.
Yeah.
So maybe um uh what do you look for in a
Hmm.
portfolio for
Yeah.
the program?
Yeah, we're trying to get a sense of how applicants are thinking through their work, and we one thing we're also interested is like who are you looking at as references. So the application is there's what is it, three parts. There's a portfolio, there's the statement, and then there's recommendations. And we look at all of that stuff really important. We're trying to understand who this group of students that we're going to put together is going to be. And so through the portfolio, really is just a chance to get to know how you think through ideas. We it doesn't have to be glass, and actually some people will put in, they'll say, oh, here's my first cup. If let's say they're an architect and they took one little glass blowing class and they made a thick and chunky cup. Well, we don't need to see the cup. We'd rather see the stuff you're good at, that you're coming with. We'd rather see stuff that's really genuine to who you are. Um, but if your work is really about making a really nice cup or something like that, then we want to see that too. So it's really just to get a chance to know you and how you think through your ideas and your material. But in the statement, we want to know why you want to come to school. We want to know why this program. That means you're going to have to do a little bit of research into the program, look into it. We want to know we want to know that you're looking to grow. We're not looking necessarily for people who only want to come and get a degree. There are people who do say they're coming just for the degree, and that's not the kind of candidate we want. Um, we want to get someone who really wants to kind of flourish. I don't know if that's helpful.
Thank you. Uh, you kind of spoke about this, but if someone's still developing their portfolio, what kind
Yeah.
of preparation would you recommend?
Um, important things are really good images in the portfolio. And we don't need to see five images of the same work. Um, unless the work is like a very giant installation, and it's really important to see five shots of that. But we're looking for a variety. We're looking to see how different your work is from other works that you're making. We're looking to see, we're looking for a variety, and but the biggest prep I think would be just making sure the work is finished and that the photos are actually legible. Uh,
Yeah.
it's not uncommon to have potentially really good work be destroyed by really bad images. If we can't read, you have to understand when we're looking through applications, there's a time period when we're doing it, and we look through it on our computer screens. And so most of us have either 13-inch or 15-inch laptops that we're looking through these on. And so one image that can fill the page is really good. Um, we have had applicants in the past put like 20 images on one page, and it's too distracting. So I would just really have a really nice image that takes up the one whole page.
Someone's
Yep.
asking if GIFs are okay.
They can
Um,
be. Yeah, we've had students do GIFs, I believe, and that would be more of a question for admissions in terms of
yeah.
like the format, in terms of yeah, how it would work on Slate. But I believe that we have, I recall a GIF or two.
Yeah, it's just what files that slide room allows.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember if that's a file
Mm.
type of file that slide room will
Mhm.
accept, but please email us and I can send you some information about that. Um, I'm sorry, I'm not going to get to your question. We only have 1 minute left, so I'm going to let
Sure.
Sean just wrap up. We have to end at 10:55. So
What I will just say is, this is just an introduction right now, but what I would really recommend, and we are very open to this, anybody who's applying, and who's thinking about it, to come visit us. Email me. You can find me on the RISD Glass website. Um, Email me and we will set up a time for you to come and meet. I really recommend you meet with other grad students. Our grad students are lovely. They love to show people around. You can get an unvarnished take on the program when you're hearing it directly from students. You're welcome to come and sit in on a critique one day or sit on a demonstration. We're here to kind of show off the program and to try and get the most interested people coming in here. So don't hesitate to actually make a visit out here. Some people might come out here and realize that they don't like it here, and so it would be really good to come in. You really get a really good feel for it. And this is kind of a funny note, and I know we got to get off in a second, but we do have a student right now from South Africa. She had no idea how cold it gets. Well, it's not even cold here yet. It's just fall. But for her, she said this is the coldest she's ever been. She can't imagine that it could possibly get colder. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I recommend coming to visit.
all right.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Sean. Thanks for everyone joining us today. If you have questions, I put Sean's email
Yep.
in the chat, and also feel free to email admissions at any time. All right.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye.